Welcome to the Good News Mama podcast, a place to get in touch with other mamas, share the load, and know the Lord. Here we aim to lift each other up in the good news of Jesus and the laughter that comes with motherhood. We are a community of mamas just trying to keep the main thing the main thing. I'm your host, Lynn Carter, and each time you tune in, I pray you are encouraged and that you leave challenged and breathe a sigh of relief that you are understood. We were not meant to do life alone, Mama. Thanks for joining in. Let's do this and let's share the good news. Hey, welcome back. How we holding up on the corona front? Are the children still alive and kicking? That's the question. Or has your brain turned to mush by 10 o'clock? Or maybe, I know, you like me shamelessly have the entire Lion Guard soundtrack memorized because the episodes have been on repeat so much. No, not Lion Guard. Okay, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, is it? Okay, still valuable, good, wholesome content and education being delivered to our children. So I call that a parenting win. Well, today I bring you light, fun, and real. Stay tuned and take a listen to this real-life perspective from two podcasters with littles. The coronavirus lockdown style, of course. My friends, you will love this woman. She's my soul sister, Callie Holland.
Oh, sister, listen, I was thinking, wait, did we have a topic? Did we have questions? Because at one point I'm sure we did, but this life that we are living, oh my gosh.
I had to dig for some questions because I'm like, I know I sent her questions, but I know they were like not really important. And I finally found them and I'm like, I'm not going to ask her those questions. Like, I hope she doesn't care.
Because everything's changed.
It's so different.
It's just a different world. I was thinking the same thing with I had all these pre-recorded episodes and then I went to release some of them and I was like, I can't release something that doesn't speak to what's happening right now.
Exactly.
So they're all just banked in the library and we're just week to week trying to figure out what we're doing.
That's kind of where I'm at because I did some interviews and they were great and I love them. And I did release one of them that I was planning on and she was super inspiring. Her name's Jessica Carey. I don't know if you've heard of her. She released a book called Chart a Course and she and I just hit it off. I mean, she spoke to my heart, like things that I had prayed that week. She was saying to me, I'm like, oh, this is just completely God. It was amazing. So long story short, I feel like you, I'm kind of like, I had to interrupt and try to do some corona encouragement. Like there's gotta be something in there.
He's looking for something. Yes.
I know. And that's kind of what I just decided. Like, let's just talk about whatever. And
how has it been going for you? I mean, overall.
Well, I'll tell you that my marriage is definitely different in that my husband and I are trying to learn how to give each other space, not really from us, which is kind of weird, right? Because you think we'd be ready to kill each other, which that's kind of a normal for us. I mean, we're like a love-hate relationship.
Listen, that's how it works. My husband and I were completely opposite. And so how I approach a situation is completely different than how he approaches it. So we experience the same thing.
Yes. And so it's actually more of a how can I give you time away from the kids? And then how can I get me time away from the kids? Like that, isn't that sad? But that is so true right now because we don't have daycare. Like we literally just transitioned out of one daycare right before all this went down. Yeah. And one of my friends was going to help us out before we could get them into the next daycare. But all this came up. So we're like, okay, we'll just keep them from home. So I work 3 days a week. I'm part-time. Praise God. It's amazing. It's been a super huge blessing. So Ben's had them the 3 days that I've been gone. And so every time I come home, which the work that I do is not in an office. It's like going to people's houses for home care, physical therapy. So when I come home, it's not 5 o'clock yet sometimes, but I have started to not even come home. I'll drive past the house to go park at the boat ramp.
To decompress, just to kind of let it all out.
To finish my work because I still have to chart and do all the things. And when he sees me pull up in that driveway, girl, he is like beeline into the truck. He's got his hat on. He's got his hoodie on. He's got his keys. I'm like, where's the baby? Oh, I left him in the car in the high chair. I was like, wait a second.
He's not going anywhere.
He doesn't have any food. He's in the high chair. He's contained. That's like our a restraint that we use for our kids. Like, put him in the high chair.
Put them in the high chair. They can't go anywhere. Put food in front of them. Listen, we at the Holland household have adopted this mindset of we eat our feelings. So if you are going to be upset, I'm going to give you a snack. And you're going to calm down and get a hold of yourself. Same with my husband, same with myself, and same with the kids.
Gosh, I need
a snack. Get a hold of yourself. We're going to be all right. Like it's that. So my husband's working from home right now, but our in-laws live across the street. Yeah. So he just goes over there to work he leaves about 5:30 in the morning, goes over there to work, and I'm working full time still.
Yes.
And doing that from home with 2 toddlers.
See, now what?
Been the adventure of a lifetime.
So they're not in daycare.
No, they're with me all day, every day, which is so different for me because I was working full time. So I would go to work and I used to feel so guilty about working. It used to feel like I'm hurting them in some way, but I realized over time, God just kind of worked on my heart in that sense of I'm a better mom because I have this time that I'm pouring into something else so I can come home to them and pour into them in ways that I don't know that I would have if I learned on my maternity leaves. I'm just not a stay-at-home mom. God bless all stay-at-home moms because I don't know how they do it. I don't. This season, they are heroes. I don't know how in the world they do it. But just being at home and working with them. I mean, I was on a Zoom call the other day, Lynn, and in the middle of the meeting, Henley, my 5-year-old, has taken Hagen, my 2-year-old, to the bathroom. We're trying to potty train. Take him to the bathroom. And all of a sudden she just yells out of nowhere, "Mom, Hagen has pooped on the floor," in the middle of this meeting. And it's picked up on like everyone just stops what they're doing and just is like, what's happening?
Yes.
And so I was just like, this is, you get what you get right now, I suppose. I don't know what you want me to
do. FYI to all.
Yes, this is the life we're living. He was eating, the other day he was eating Nerf bullets, just like on behind me on the Zoom call, just eating them. And I didn't notice it.
Somebody's like,
someone's like, you might want to, I don't know, turn around and look at what's happening back there. Okay.
This is my favorite line. My 2-year-old my 3-year-old will say, Mom, is this a problem? And I look around and it's my 1.5-year-old like eating something or standing on the counter or something crazy. And I'm like, thanks, Wade. Appreciate that.
I appreciate you looking out like this. I don't know. I'm so thankful for the older children in this season because I have a 5-year-old literally taking care of a 2-year-old right now. Like,
girl, take advantage of it. They're so smart and they pay attention. Like I'll all the time be like, "Hey Brooks, can you go get Trent out of whatever he's doing and bring him back in here?" Like, I don't want to get out the recliner. Right? My key to working from home has been this beautiful weather. Thank you, Jesus. Because if we were all inside all the time, someone would lose a life, or I would take someone's head off. I would absolutely lose it. But I've been opening the garage door. And they just go outside and I sit at the kitchen table and just watch them from the kitchen table. And every now and again, I just yell for Henley, like, "Hey, everybody doing okay? All right, keep going. We're great. Everything's great." It's a whole new type of motherhood in this season, I think, that none of us could have expected. Have you figured out any hacks, any things that have like worked for you? But like you got the garage set up, like that's a golden thing right there. If you figure that out, that's the key. So you've got them contained, but not right. They're in in my line of sight most of the time. And I just, every probably 15, 20 minutes, I just yell out the door to see if they both answer me, I figure we're fine. Right. I mean, I don't have to see you if I can hear you. But that, and a friend of mine told me about this, Lynn, they have been having their children, they're teaching them to clean. So for like 30 minutes, depending on the ages, 30 minutes to an hour every morning, they have a cleaning task that they have to do. And she said, sometimes they're terrible at it and that's okay. But she like gives them like a rag and like sprays a window down. It's like, "Hey, wipe this." And then they have their task that they know they have to do for that amount of time. And so she tells them, "You cannot come and ask me for something to do in this amount of time. You find something to pick up or to clean and you do that. And then after we'll do something else. But for this window of time," and obviously it varies on age, but she said for this window of time, like she has a 9-year-old and she said, "My 9-year-old's folding my laundry now." I mean, just because she knows in that hour, you better find something to do because you're not going to get to do anything fun if you're not doing what I'm asking you in that time frame. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, how do you think of these things? Cause I'm over here, Lynn, listen, I'm over here. I bought some crafts on Amazon that I thought would take the whole day. They took 20 minutes. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. And so they do these crafts. I'm like, okay, so we get through that. And then
the amount I'm making lunches that they don't eat. Right. I mean, I'm making all these meals. They're not eating them. They just look at them and then 20 minutes later tell me they're hungry. I'm just like, I don't.
Yes.
It is a whole new, and trying to keep, they're learning the value. I think I learned this as a kid because I had 2 working parents. And so I had to learn to entertain myself. My kids are learning to entertain themselves. So they used to always come to me and be like, hey, can we go do this? Or I would like, let's go to the zoo. Let's go to, we have Dollywood close by where I live. And we have all this stuff. We have parks and everything. And so I would always just go with them.
Right.
And at home, they're like, well, what are we supposed to do here? I mean, we're never here. So what are we supposed to do here?
It's just our refueling station. We don't do anything else.
I know. Just go outside, find a stick, like hit a tree with a stick. It's fun. Go try it. See what happens.
It's funny you said that because we actually threw our Easter eggs at trees after we hid them and found them. Mm-hmm. Like I felt like the worst mom ever because I was like, we're going to dye these eggs. I didn't say anything about Easter bunny and all that stuff, which was good because we didn't get any stuff or any of that, but we did dye the eggs, which they loved. And then after they found them Easter morning, they just threw them like hard-boiled eggs, throwing at trees, loved it. Great time.
It is the most basic of things that they think is awesome. Like, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I hate dyeing eggs. I think it is my least favorite holiday activity ever because there's no way it's not a mess. And it's just more for me to have to clean up. But we did it outside and they wanted to carry their eggs everywhere with them and letting a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old carry these hard-boiled eggs. My house smelled like bad eggs for like a week because they were hiding them places I didn't know.
Right.
And so all of a sudden there'd be like 1 egg missing. And I'm like, okay, we're down to 11. Where'd the one go? I don't know. We're down to like 10 and 9 and 8 and they're hidden all over the house. And
my gosh.
And they can't remember where they are. It was a terrible mistake. I should have thrown them at trees. I mean, a very terrible mistake on my part. I'll tell you that.
Oh, girl, I don't blame you. It's just whatever works. I would agree with that.
And that's the truth of it in this season, Lynn. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves that be the entertainer or to be like, hey, let's do this, or to be the teacher. Like I'm thinking Henley's supposed to start kindergarten in August and she was in her pre-K class. She was learning everything she needs to learn. And I'm thinking, I'm going to have to teach her all this. I'm going to have to make sure she knows all of this before going to kindergarten so she's not behind. And I'm just thinking, it's all of us. All the kids her age are experiencing the same thing right now. Yes. So we're all going to go, we're all in the same season for the first time, maybe in who knows when, Lynn, we're all experiencing the same things.
And so,
it's no longer, okay, I'm going to do this with my kids because I see that they're doing this with their kids. It's, hey, we're all going back to school, hopefully in August. Please, Lord Jesus, hear my cry. Right. Let us go back to school in August.
I can for one tell you that my marriage might not be that great by August if we don't get this whole daddy daycare
sister. I don't know. We're all going to be different on the other side of this. I mean, all of us are going to be our marriages, our families, our relationships are all going to be so different on the other side of it.
Yes.
And it's probably going to be painful because we're around each other nonstop right now. I mean, it's a constant, especially for those who are still working like you are. I think it's a whole nother kind of stress of you come home and you're drained because of the work that you've had to do the whole day.
Yeah.
But you still want to give to your family. And you're like, I don't know if I have anything else to give right now. I just want to turn on a screen and let you sit. And guess what? That's okay.
Girl, our screen stays on. We don't even have devices. Our TV is just nonstop. I watched 50 episodes of The Lion Guard and it was Monday. And I know every song from that soundtrack and it is fine. I will sing it with them. We will get up and dance and we will do that. And then they'll sit down and watch the rest and I'll go do something else. But
it's fine. I mean, I think we get so scared that we're creating some sort of lasting damage, but we're not. Like, we are all doing the same things. And we can pretend like we're not on our social medias, that we're having like holding school for an hour or two a day and we're learning all our letters and we're going on alphabet walks and all this stuff. Guess what I'm doing? I'm saying go outside and do something, or here's another episode of Lion Guard and enjoy it, please. Like, if we're going to do, the only education my kids are doing right now is from Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. I'm gonna be honest with you. I turned that on so they can learn some letters that day. And then we're going to move on to something else.
Girl, it is crazy that you said that. Like, when I think we did one Bible story last week and it was Jonah and the whale. And I cannot tell you how many movies we referenced talking about Jonah and the whale. A lot of it was like Ice Age, and when they walked into the big whale on that episode with, I don't even know if it's like Pirate Ice Age. I don't even know the name of it. Anyway, he
They
was
all run together. It's all the same.
because of the episodes of TV he had already seen. So I was like, this is kind of easier for me to explain when he's already had all these little shows to compare it to. Was that like this? Yes, buddy, except this happened.
Like this. They are learning things. And we don't, I mean, I'm telling you, the real winners in all of this are people who are already homeschooling. I'm going to tell you, the real winners in this whole season are people who had already made the decision to homeschool because they already knew what to do. The rest of us are like, what's happening? But any teachers that I have talked to have all said the same thing, Lynn. They're like, hey, let us do our jobs. I mean, just be home, be the parent, love them well in this season. They are creating incredible memories right now. Think about it. I mean, we're all together all the time right now. If we might go to work for a little bit and then we come back and we are spending all this time together and they're creating these incredible memories. Like, just let that be enough for right now. And so
tell me how your work has changed, because you work for a church, right?
I do. So this is a whole nother level, Lynn. I can't even describe to you. I was telling my husband, so we've been taking evening walks. So every night we load the kids up in a single stroller, even though I have 2 kids, because I'm too cheap to buy a double stroller. So we just shove them in the single one and make it work. But we go on walks pretty much every evening, which has been really, special and just a moment to kind of pull it together after a long day. And he just said, hey, what are you going to do about your pace? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm doing great. Look at me. Like, I'm haggard. I'm tired. Everything's fine. And he said, this is not something you can maintain. And he's saying this because I run the online presence of a church here in Knoxville. And so everything's online now. And I'm the social media manager. I'm also helping with like the services. I'm helping with all these different elements that I love. And I know without a doubt I'm called to do it. But it's also overwhelming in this season because you feel like you're always on. So you're always trying to figure out ways to engage this audience, because this is a whole new world. We're online only, Lynn. I mean, it's like, okay, how do we help people take next steps? How about these people who are trusting Jesus through a screen, which is great, but how do we make sure they're seen? How are we discipling people? How are we doing any of this? And it's all only through your social media platforms and your website and all this stuff. So it has been I feel like my life went from like manageable to 1,000 things at once, and thinking, okay, how do I balance it? And to be honest, I have zero balance in my life right now.
Wow, girl. I don't even know how you do it. So with your job before, did you work it, leave it, come home and be with your family? And then now
the thing about ministry that I learned, I've been in ministry. The only other job I ever had, I was a hostess at a chop house. And I was a radio DJ. So those are the only other jobs, like through college and everything. And so I never had any other job. So ministry is all I've done since I was 19. And so I learned over time that ministry just never stops. It's one of those things where you have to create boundaries for yourself. And I'm not great at that. I always want to be available. I always want to help because I just love what I do. But I was actually listening to a podcast the other day, and this woman was on it and she was talking about her ministry. She was in her 60s, I guess. So she'd been doing it for a while. And she said, I had to learn that my ministry is only as good as my family. Wow. So, and I think that doesn't just apply if you are, occupationally in ministry. I think it applies across the board. Like if you are ministering to anyone, if you are loving people well, if you are the person that always says yes, if you are always the person that people come to and ask for your help, well, you can only be as good for them as you are at home with your family, because one impacts the other always. So it was one of those moments, Lynn, where I stopped and was like, wow. I mean, like I had to stop the podcast and sit in it for a second, because I was thinking my family only gets what's left over. I'm pouring out as much as I can and they get whatever's left. And it was just one of those moments that God was like, okay, what are you going to do to fix it? Well, I don't know yet, but just let me sit in it for a second to figure out how true that is. It was just a painful moment for me. And this just happened like yesterday. I was mowing the grass and listening to a podcast, and I was like, I walked in and told my husband about it. And I was like, he's like, are you surprised about that? I was like, okay, that's a little more painful, right? There. Thank you. Like, it's great.
Salt in the wound. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that.
So it is definitely, the pace has been insane for me, but God is teaching me so much that pace is not okay. It's not busyness, you can only be great at, God has gifted you to be great at a few things, Lynn, and he is teaching me in this season that if you're trying to be good at everything, you're not going to be great at anything. Yeah. And I'm just trying to figure out what to lean into from him so that I can be a better mom and a better wife and a better friend and sister and whatever else.
Yes, definitely. There was like a book called Habitudes, and I'm like digging deep here because what you said just made me think of it. But it was back in, did you ever go to Passion?
Yeah.
Okay. So I went to Passion, I think it was 05 or 06. And one of the books there was Habitudes. And it's your habits and your attitudes. And one of the principles in that book was, are you a river or a flood? And it was basically what you just said. Are you flowing like a river with a purpose, having a deep intent and gifting and calling that you're fulfilling? Are you just skimming the surface like a flood and causing damage everywhere because you're trying to do all the things but doing nothing really well? And it was like, oh man. And so I remember that. I don't know where the book is, probably buried in my attic somewhere, but just that principle of, dang, that spoke to me. That was like, I've always been the type of person, whatever I do, I want to do it really well. And to a point of almost like not a good thing, like to a fault, but realizing that I'm not good at everything. So it's okay to say, all right, that's not me, moving on. Like, don't try to master it, just accept it, do what you're good at and flow with it. Like, serve others with it, do what you need to do. And so I get that. That speaks to me for sure.
Well, and that's the danger of social media, even in of itself, is you see what other people are good at and you see what other people are doing. I think moms, I don't think I fully fell into this trap until I became a mom. And I saw how these other moms were momming. And I was like, gosh, they're good. I need to do what they're doing. I need to sit down and I'm so bad. Even when my closest friends are like, yeah, I sat down with my kids for an hour and went over letters. And I'm like, well, I'm awful. Like, I'm a terrible mother. I didn't do that. They don't know. I mean, they know A, B, and C. What else they need to know? They're going to learn that at school. I'm like, I feel this huge amount of guilt if I see other people doing something and I haven't done it. And I feel like I'm letting my kids down, or I'm somehow a terrible mother and I need to work harder. And that guilt turns into shame, which it just spirals. Right.
Yeah.
And I just think that God's reminding us, hey, it's like, step back for a second and do what you are most gifted and great at doing. And and that's how Satan is so sneaky, Lynn, is he's like putting these thoughts in our heads. Like, hey, your kids are going to be kind of messed up if you're not doing that.
Exactly.
Hey, are your kids going to be successful if you're not sitting down with them for an hour a day? Hey, if your kid has not trusted Jesus by the age of 5, do you think they ever will? Maybe you're not showing them Jesus enough. It's like, you get all these thoughts and then all of a sudden you're buying into them. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But if you step back for a second and think, hey, would Jesus say that to me? Would Jesus speak that into my heart? Because I don't think he would. So why am I listening to it? It's just it's easy to spiral, especially in a season like this.
Exactly. And it's funny what you just said about how your thoughts and turning into beliefs and things like that, because I heard it, some influencer said something recently. Sorry, I've heard so many things and been on social media.
I know. I'm with you. We are consuming so much.
Somebody great. I don't know who they were, but they were talking about how our thoughts are just our thoughts, and the words that other people say are just words until we believe them, until we, not just what they say and like falls on our ears, but until we believe and internalize, and that becomes our own thought. And that then it resonates as a belief and a norm. And that's when it starts to derail us. And I was like, man, that is good. That just speaks a lot to just what we tell ourselves about ourselves and about our families and what we choose to believe and choose not to believe. So definitely.
It's just such a slippery slope. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like when Ryan was talking to you about the pace, was that like a while ago where you've had some time to think about what's this pace looking like? Because you said that you're basically doing all the things and even more. So like you did the social media stuff at church and then you come home and you're still doing that. But now you've taken on new roles, it sounds like.
Yeah. That was 2 days ago. I'll be honest with you. It was about
Girl, they ain't no processing in 2 days.
But I'm feeling this conviction on my heart, Lynn, just about how I'm just letting all these things happen to me. Like it's like I'm just getting pushed through life and I'm just taking things as they come. And I'm not trying to put any sort of boundaries there. I'm not trying to put any sort of I'm not organizing anything. I'm just taking things one thing at a time and then rolling through it and just trying to get to the end of the day.
Yeah.
And some days, some seasons you have to do that. I'm not going to sit here and say never do that, because there are some seasons you
Yeah.
You're just going through some hard stuff and you have to do that. But there are also some seasons where it becomes an excuse. And I find myself saying all the time, it's just for now. I'll get it. I'll organize things. I'll organize my thoughts and my pace and I'll get it right. But God's teaching me so much that I can't just let things happen to me. At some point, I have to live my life with some sort of intentionality and I have to live it with some sort of mission to it and not just taking things as they come and feeling hit over the top of the head every time and exhausted all the time and worn out all the time. And so now I'm just really trying to dive into, okay, what is specifically that mission for not just my family, but for my ministry? What is the mission that God has placed on my heart that only I can do? I had a mentor, I was pregnant with Hayden, so it was over 2 years ago. And he said, Callie, here's the thing. God has gifted you to do something specific and unique that's only to you. He has designed you to do it. And when you don't do it, guess what? His purpose is still going to be established. He's just going to establish it with somebody else. So do you really want to miss out on that opportunity? I mean, do you really want to be like, not tune in to what God's will is for your life because all the noise that you're allowing in is crowding out his voice. And so you're just going and rolling through life and not knowing really what the purpose at all is to what he has gifted you to do. So no, still in the process. You're hearing the processing right now. So you're welcome. That's
how we process. That's how it's so crazy that you said that. That is exactly how it's almost like when I hear myself say it or when I write it down, I'm like, okay. I didn't know that was in there, but now that I've heard it, it's making a little more sense. And that's deep. I'm like,
I mean, it's one of those things you just have to sit in it for a minute and just like let it roll through a few times before you can really grab hold of it and actually do something with it. Cause that's where I'm at right now is I'm starting to get a grip on it. Okay, now what do I need to do with it is kind of where I'm at.
So when you were talking about all the things happening to you right now, what things, I feel like in this whole coronavirus situation, there's like two camps. It's like, let's take advantage of this time and learn new things and do all the things right. And then there's the other camp of like, let's just survive. What is what is the most absurd advice that you've heard so far that you've scoffed at and you'd be like, yeah, right. That is not even happening.
I'm not going to lie to you. I saw a friend of mine say that they were learning French right now and that you should use this time to do something you never thought you'd be able to do or have time to do. So learn a language or start a side hustle. And I'm like, I'm just hustling through life. What do you mean a side hustle? Like, I'm just trying to get through each day at this point. And people are like, I'm learning a language. I've learned how to knit. I've made 4 sweaters. Like, I don't have children. And some people, but it's so different. And I mean, more power to you. Let's think about our friends without kids, Lynn. Let's just think about them for a second. Not with jealousy in your heart, because there's some jealousy in my heart right now.
I think about it every day. I'm like, they can do whatever they want to.
But what are they getting to do? They're taking about 6 walks a day. They're scrolling through Netflix. They're doing some yard work. They're doing whatever they want to do. And it's a beautiful season. And so, they can learn French. Yeah, they can learn how to bake cakes and decorate cakes or whatever. And I feel like, oh my gosh, should I be doing that? Like everyone's like organizing everything. And I'm like, if I have an hour to myself, guess what? I don't want to go into a closet. I want to sit down and read a book. I want to watch a show. I want to go on a walk. I want to do something else.
Yes.
So that's kind of these people who are just doing these absurd side hustles and hobbies and learning languages. That's incredible, but that's not for me. I cannot.
I knew you were going to say something like that because I feel like we're in the same boat on that. Like, you're telling me to take advantage and do what?
I know.
Not even sleeping through the night. Like, you want me to do what when I'm awake?
I'm doing so bad at night. It's so funny. Ryan and I just talked about this last night because he kept telling me to go to bed. Like when the kids are finally in bed.
Girl, that's my time.
I just need it. I need it. And I'm just like, Ryan was like, well, why don't you go to bed? And it was like 9:30 because the kids are going to bed late. I don't know what your kids are doing, but my kids are not going to bed till like 9 or 9:30.
Girl, that's their normal bedtime. Last night we were baking cookies at midnight. I'm not kidding you. The 3-year-old and the 5-year-old, they're like, let's bake cookies. I'm like, oh, it's 11:30. Why not?
Why not? We don't have anywhere to be tomorrow, so let's just do it. But let me ask you this, Lynn. What time are they waking up in the morning?
Solid 9:30.
Oh,
yeah, not my youngest. No, my youngest, the 1.5-year-old, he goes to bed at 8:00, which is wonderful. And then he'll wake up Maybe 4 or 5 or so. I can give him a bottle and get another hour and a half, 2 hours out of him. But we just hung out for an hour and a half, 2 hours yesterday, just me and him. The other two, camping out on the floor in the living room, dead to the world. They are tired.
My gosh. My kids, it's like their goal in life is to make sure I don't sleep in ever on any day. It doesn't matter the day. They don't, it's irrelevant to them. Days are nothing. And we will go to bed. I mean, they're not going to bed till like 9:30 or 10, my 5-year-old. And she's still rolling out at like 7. And then my 2-year-old's finally asleep at like 9 or 9:30. Yeah. He's rolling out of bed at about 6. And I'm like, what is wrong with you all? This is good. Sleep is good. Stay in bed.
I mean, we've embraced melatonin gummies for the oldest one. And we didn't have one that other night when it was 12:30, but that usually will help him get down pretty easy.
I'm about to embrace some Benadryl is what I'm telling you right now, Lynn. I'm about to just...
Drastic times cover drastic measures.
I'll tell you what, I'm about to turn to right now. Not just for them, for me too.
It's insane. And then I told you before we started recording today, it took me an hour and a half to get my little one to sleep. And it's usually not like that. I mean, he doesn't sleep very long when he goes to sleep during the middle of the day, but I was like, come on, man, this is crazy. Like, what's going on? So he's all tearing up the blinds and everything. But
there are a few things more frustrating than trying to get a kid to sleep who will not go to sleep. I mean, mine all of a sudden get real chatty. My 2-year-old at night now, like all of a sudden he wants to talk about what he saw 7 days ago that I don't even remember seeing. Like, hey, like last night he said, Mom, you remember the worker? What worker are you talking about? He was on the building, at the top of the building, and literally it was a week ago. And I was like, I don't even know. Just go, close your eyes. Close your eyes. That's all I could say to him. Just close your eyes. I don't know. Stop.
Right. It doesn't matter. It does not work. Last night I was reading a bedtime story to Wade because he likes to sleep in my bed. And then Ben and Brooks will sleep out in the living room on the air mattress thing or the mattress pad, like their camp out they'll do out there. And so we were reading Room on the Broom, which is a hilarious little book that's really sing-songy, rhymey, whatever. I kid you not, he stopped me like every sentence to tell me about something in the book. And I just, I'm like, are you really that interested? Or are you just delaying the inevitable? Like, do you really just
Let me ask you this, Lynn. Do you ever, when you're reading bedtime stories, skip about 5 or 6 pages to the ones who don't realize it yet that you've met? Like my 5-year-old has caught on to me and knows when I'm skipping pages. My 2-year-old still, I mean, I can read the first page and the last page and he thinks he's gotten the full story and it's great.
Yes. I love that part. Like Little Engine That Could, we definitely paraphrase and do and this train and this train.
Because some of these stories are too long. You know, if you are a children's book author, I'm going to need you to tone it down. Right. I'm going to need these stories to get shorter. Okay. Because I don't want to be reading a novel at 9:00 at night. I just don't.
My kids call me out though. They definitely.
I hate when they start figuring things out. It's a problem. It really is.
It is. How'd you get that smart? I don't know. It's just.
They definitely didn't get from me, I'll be honest. They got all the question asking from me. They got their smarts from Ryan. That's for sure.
There you go. I will say I did enjoy seeing your post the other day of your toddler wearing moisturizer cream all over his clothes. That was definitely a quarantine highlight. I love that. That was so I related with that.
That is the work. It is the work from home life. Again, I was on a conference call, I think. And this is like, it was expensive lotion. Henley has like emphysema. That's not right. Eczema. She's not a smoker. So she kicked that habit years ago. She's good now. She has eczema, which is a skin rash. All right. She's not a heavy smoker at this point in her life. But so we had to get this expensive lotion that we put on after bath. And all of a sudden, Henley's yelling for me again. She is the queen. She doesn't stop it when it's happening. She just tells me after that it's happened. So she's yelling for me again on the Zoom call. And there's probably, I kid you not, at least 9 to 10 people on this call with me. And she's like, Mom, Hagen's got the lotion, again, screaming from the bedroom. And he walks out and he's just like, his clothes are covered. His pants are covered. His hands, it's everywhere.
Yes.
And all I'm seeing is dollar signs. I'm like, you know how expensive that lotion was right now? Like, we're going to have to like get rid of
the Tupperware.
More of that. Yes.
Put it in the
try to put it into the Tupperware, scrape it off. Henley, come here. We're going to moisturize right now. Come here. Just hug on your brother for a minute. But then I walked in. I got off the call, finished the call. Walked into Henley's room. It was all over the walls. It was all over the toys. I mean, it was it was on the carpet. It was and it was just one of those days when Ryan got home from work. I just looked at him and I said, I'm going to have to take a lap. And I just walked out the door. I just went on a walk. I was like, I can't, you deal with it. I can't.
You're it. Right. I'm done.
It was, yes. It takes maybe 2 minutes before I walk. You said your husband, like you get home and he walks out.
Yes.
Ryan feels that. He walks in the door and I'm like, it's your turn, your shift. I'm out. Thank you.
Every single time. Sometimes he calls me before I get home. I'm like, wait a second, I'm still working. Like,
when my husband only did that when we had newborns, it was so funny because I went back to work pretty quick because I wanted to. Like I did not do well on maternity leaves. I went a little crazy. But so I would go back to work. And so he's at home with this newborn. And I mean, I nursed my kids. And so it's like, they are so totally dependent on you. Mm-hmm. And I'd left him milk or whatever. And he always, like I could time it to a T. He would always call back, hey, you coming home? When you coming home? What time you gonna be here? Was like, I mean, he had to know what he was hoping toward and working toward every time I left the house.
End of the tunnel. Exactly. You gotta have it. So I just thought of this. You were talking about your job. You're talking about your history of stuff. Radio DJ as one of those. How perfect of a background is that to be a podcaster? And your podcast, I wanted to know, like when we met and you were giving me the background on your podcast and I was loving all of your story and everything, I did not know that was a part of it, that you were a DJ before.
So in college, I was a communications and journalism major. And in college, one part of it was you had to, so I went to the University of Tennessee. And so a lot of people did that major because they wanted to be sports analysts. A lot of people did. So you had to do like a practicum somewhere and like work as an intern doing something you would want to do. So I got on at a local radio station. A lot of people like tried to get on with sports or get into like the athletic department, do stuff like that and report. And I just wasn't interested in that. I was like, I want to talk. Of course I want to talk. And so before I was called into ministry, my whole point of that major was I was like, I'm going to have a talk show. I mean, I'm going to be, I'm going to have a talk show. I'm going to get to do what I want. At first it was news. And I was like, news is real sad. I don't need to be giving all these people bad news all the time. So I decided talk show host. So I got on at this radio station. And Lynn, you think it's great. They gave me the weekend slots. So I did Saturdays and Sundays. And they gave me early mornings, like 3:00 in the morning, because I was just an intern. Yeah. So I was just an intern. So I'm just filling the spot. So no one wanted to work through the weekends. So they just gave me the stuff that no one else wanted, which was great. But I learned real fast, I need somebody to talk to. I mean, I was in that booth and I was laughing at my own jokes. I was like, it was like, I don't know. I'm feeding off nobody. So I'm like writing all these stories out, what I'm going to say. And there was one in particular that I was like, this is great material. And I was so proud of it. And I remember telling the story. So I was after, a lot of times I was on after church. So people would always text me, call me, whatever, like, hey, you're on the radio, whatever. That was like one of my time slots. Mm-hmm. And so I was telling the story about the lake. And I'm not a fan. Like, I like to be on the lake. I don't like to be in the lake. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know what's under me. I don't want to get got. I don't want, I don't trust it. I just give me a boat and we're going to be all right. So I'm like talking to people about the lake and how I don't want to be on the lake. I want to be in the lake, and I'm delivering all this stuff. And I'm thinking, this is so funny. I'm laughing at my own jokes. And I listened. It was the first time I'd listened to myself back. And it was so dead. Like you could, I just sounded like the biggest dork, just delivering that jokes I thought was hilarious. And I'm laughing so hard at my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember someone called me and they're like, hey, you laugh a lot at your own jokes. And I was like, listen, I wouldn't say it if I didn't think it was funny. So why would I not laugh at this stuff? This is great material. Come on. But I learned then, if I'm ever going to do anything, on air, I have to have someone to talk to. Yeah. I'm just not, I knew I was not meant to be a radio DJ.
I've enjoyed your podcast too. Listening to you and your friends talk has been so hilarious. You're just so gifted at that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your podcast and why you started it, and tell me all.
So, probably, I guess we've been in about a year and a half now, which it feels like I just started it, but it was just one of those things. I was in a nursing mother's room. Hagen was maybe a year old or so. And I was sitting there with him and working at a church. I was always in and out of there, like trying to, when I was nursing my kids, like trying to get them in, like get them just enough to get through the next service. And then I would grab them after the service and whatever, do it again. Yeah. So I was sitting in there one day and this sweet girl walks in, and she's maybe in her mid-20s, and she has the look that all first-time moms have. I mean, and if you are a first-time mom, really if you're a second-time mom, you know this look, because I think when you have your first kid, you don't realize you look this way. But she walked in and she just looked shell-shocked. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, she just looks like life was hitting her so hard, punch after punch, and she didn't know what she was doing. And she came in and her baby was only probably maybe 3 weeks old. She had him in the carrier.
Yeah.
She walked in this room and she sat down next to me, and I started talking to her and asked her how old her little boy was. She told me he was just a few weeks old, and she just had this story, Lynn. I mean, it was her labor was really difficult. Mm-hmm. The baby had a couple things medically wrong, not huge, not bad, but it just meant he had to stay in the hospital a little longer. And then she started having some medical stuff going on where she had to go back in the hospital. And I mean, she had just had a miserable 3 weeks. And before you have your first one, you imagine what it's going to be like. I mean, you create this beautiful picture of what, and it's not, but you don't know that at that point because you don't know it because no one had told you.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there talking to her and you can tell she feels like she's on this island, like she's failing and she's only 3 weeks in, like she's doing everything wrong and she's only 3 weeks in. And my heart broke for her because I just thought, no, you are doing such a good job. And so we talked. I mean, I was late going into what I needed to do, but I just knew in that moment God wanted me there and speaking life into her and just, you are doing an incredible job. And any mom who is out there and you're trying your best, you have to know you're doing an incredible job. I mean, you are doing what no one else could be doing. You are that child's mother because God wanted you to be that child's mother. No one else can do it like you're doing it. And I felt like I needed to breathe that into her because no one had told, I had to figure that out on my own with my first. And I just thought, gosh, there's so much no one tells you. I mean, I got her name. Her name was Nicole. And we started meeting up probably once a week. I would text and call her because she had no one else in her life who was telling her these things of what to expect and what it's going to be like. And that what you're experiencing, everyone experiences it. You're not alone in this. Like we're all walking the same path and we're so more similar than we are different. And our experiences are way more similar than they are different. And I just started thinking through this and I started, I felt God was like, hey, you need to do something with this and you need to take a next step with this. And somehow the idea of a podcast popped in my head and I pushed it aside because again, I was just thinking, I don't have time for this. Like I've got 2 kids, I've got a full-time job. Like there's no way, but I felt like God was saying, this is something that I want you to do. And that mentor that I told you about earlier on in the episode who had said to me, hey, when God plants a unique gift in your heart, when he gives you an idea to do it, when you don't do it, he's just going to accomplish it with somebody else. And I thought, no, I want you to accomplish it with me. I want to do this. And so I was walking in through the offices one day and it was just me and another girl. We were there early and she was in her cube. She had just come on staff and, she was talking about her friends in college who they were struggling. They had just gotten out of college and they were struggling trying to get their feet under them, right? Like they didn't know what this real life was like. I was like, I've been thinking about that concept a lot, that there's just so much that no one tells you about life. And why are we not telling each other these things? Why are we not helping each other through these seasons? And I was like, I've been thinking about starting a podcast. And she's like, no, you need to do that. I was like, I don't know. And she was like, no, you absolutely need to do that. And she started contacting friends without me knowing and asking them, hey, what's a moment you wish someone would have told you about? Wow. And the next day she comes to me, she said, Callie, I have at least 30 moments here of things that people wish someone would have told them about. She was like, this is proof you need to start this. And it really just took her believing in me and telling me you can do this. And then she started telling other people and they started coming to me saying, you can do this. Yeah. And that's the power of women and men and women in your life who are encouragement to you. Like they will empower you to do what you think you cannot do. And God has placed them in your life for specific seasons to give you the passion and the strength that sometimes you feel like you're lacking in. And so we launched No One Told Me with that whole mindset of, hey, hindsight is everything. And so we're going to share our hindsight on these episodes and we're going to tell you what we've learned so that you can learn it before you even experience it. And that's kind of the goal of all of it is you're not walking through any season alone because I guarantee someone's been where you have been and this is what they did. Absolutely. So kind of the goal of it. I love it. I mean, in this season, and I know you experience this, it's hard to keep going in this season right now. I mean,
yes, girl. Our stories are so similar. My gosh. And I didn't get all of that when we first met. Because honestly, I think we might have even talked for like an hour the first time we met. But I just hit it off with you. I'm like, I could hang out with this girl. Like, if we lived close enough, we'd be buds.
Let's do it. Come on over. Drive across those mountains, Lynn. Get over here.
I would love to just hop a plane like I did to get to Tennessee, to Nashville last time, which my husband almost divorced me after that because he would never leave me with 3 kids for 3 days again.
Why would you do this for me? Please help. Yes.
The same thing with me. Like, I had one of my great friends. We were just sitting there amongst other kids playing, and she's just like, do you ever just feel like you're not the mom for your kids, or like you're not you're not being enough, or like you're not really the mom that's called to be the mom for these kids? Like, you're just so inadequate feeling. And I'm like, no, we got to change that. This is not. And just the similar thing, like what you're talking about, because it's so isolating in the early motherhood, especially because you just got to do all the things, and hanging out with friends ain't one of them. It's just responsibility and stuff. So that resonated with me a lot. And like what you said, the same thing, like full time. Let's build a house. Let's have 3 kids, 5 and under. Let's, do all the things here. And that's what I was last summer when I started this thing. So how did you even find out about Blissdom? How did you get there? And what was that?
I think it came across my feed, my Instagram feed at one point. And it was that in and of itself I'm very extroverted. But I like to be extroverted with a buddy, I like to have a person with me that I know, no matter what I walk into, I have like a person that I know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sent in to be a community leader with Blissdom, mainly because they said they'd pay for it. And I'm not making profit off the podcast. And so I was like, I can't, it's an expensive conference. And I was like, I cannot afford to pay for this right now and go. And so I signed up to be a community leader, and they selected me and invited me to come. And it was semi-terrifying because I was just like, I don't know if I want to do this by myself. Also, I have kids, I have a job, I have a husband, I have, I have all these reasons not to do it. But I went through the process that it is, because I know, for what you said, my husband would not love me as much when I got home if I left him with the kids the whole time. And so I started orchestrating with like different babysitters and family members and all this stuff that they would pass around the kids a little bit for me to go. And I ended up going, and it was one of those moments where I really learned, like, hey, I hadn't done that since college. Like in college, you go in trying to make friends. You want to make friends. You want to meet people. And I had not been on that side of it since college. So going into Blissdom was definitely an adventure. One of my favorite things to do is empower other people to do what they think they can't do, because I just can see God gifting them to do things. And I'm like, no, you got to do it. You've got to do this. So that was probably one of my favorite parts. But I just happened upon it on Instagram one day, and I was like, we'll see where I land with this. So that's how I ended up in Nashville by myself, alone at a conference.
I know. So where do you live in Tennessee?
I live in Knoxville. So I live about 2.5 hours. So it's east of Nashville.
Okay.
It's where University of Tennessee is. I live really close to the Smoky Mountains. I'm like right at the foot of the Smoky Mountains.
Yeah, even though I'm in home health, I'm geographically challenged. And so when we were scheduling the podcast, I was like, well, she's Tennessee, so she's Central Time. Like, that was just what
It's hard. Listen, it was just recently, I'm going to make myself sound like an idiot. It was just recently that my husband convinced me that Oregon is between California and Washington. I just really didn't believe him. And we had to look at a map. So I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah, I couldn't label all the states. And then my husband, he always rubs that in my face. He's like, you don't even know where such and such is. I'm like, yeah, I guess I skipped that class in 5th grade.
I know. But listen, here's what I'm saying. This is why I can't be my child's teacher. Okay. Right. I don't even know where the states are. What do you want me to teach them? What do you want me to teach them? I don't even know. I'll teach them how to do some laundry. I'll teach them how to wash some dishes. I'm okay with that. We'll do some home ec. I'm good with it, Lynn. I'm good with it.
Which is how I get my kids to do things. I have to bribe them. We're not making these cookies until you do this and this.
Lynn, let me tell you something, and you already know this. Parenting is just bribribery. I mean, I would say 70% of parenting is bribery. Just, hey, if you do this, you get this. It is a reward system, and that's okay because it gets us through.
And we've taught them cause and effect, just that simply.
See? There you go. See the good things. And parenting, like Ryan the other day was disciplining our kids, and he was like, I'm going to take away screen time. Like, you're not going to get to watch anything. And I said, Ryan, you are punishing us right now. I mean, You are making it harder on me when you make that. Let's get more creative with our punishments because I'm going to need those screens. So don't you dare take those away from me.
You're not making mama happy with that choice, Daddy.
No, listen, strike one. You do it again. You're not going to like it. I'll tell you that right now.
I love it, girl. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for talking to me. I have super enjoyed this. It's always, I can never realize what time it is. Like it's been almost an hour. It just goes by so fast. I'm like,
well, and again, it goes back to that community, Lynn. It just feels good to know other people are feeling what you're feeling. Yeah. Other people are thinking what you're thinking, and it's okay. And we're all in the same. I mean, we're all trying to figure out who we're going to be on the other side of this. Who are we going to be? And I think we're going to be better. I really do. I just think it's a little bit painful right now.
Definitely. What are you most looking forward to going back to when this is over?
You know, I just want to aimlessly walk through Target. I do. I want to go in with no purpose, and I want to come out with like 2 pairs of shoes, some new nail polish, maybe some dry shampoo. I just want to wonder. That's one thing Ryan says all the time. He said, this has been a great lesson in you can make it without going to Target every weekend and buying something. And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't feel like that's a lesson worth learning.
Am I thriving or am I just?
That is a great question. That is a great question, Lynn. Do you like me better when I get to purchase things? He's like, well, and I have so many friends who are shopping online, and I haven't opened that can of worms yet. I think it's a dangerous road for me. I've thought about it because I'd like some new things, but it's just, I have learned though, that I can do without a lot. You know, I've really seen that I can do without a lot. And now listen, I do want a pedicure. Gosh, I need, I can't even wear sandals right now. I don't know. You might say, Callie, paint your own nails. That seems not worth it to me. I would just rather hold out.
There you go. I'll pay my dues later.
What are you looking forward to? What's the first thing you're going to go do?
I don't know. I think about what we're going through. And for me, it's very similar to what we've always gone through because I'm still working and I'm still doing, I'm not like, I haven't been in stores like what you're talking about. So that part will be nice to be able to go pick something up that I need. But honestly, I think just having a peaceful husband again, maybe because by the 3rd day in a row, he's like, okay, get home now. Like it's just a lot, but he really is enjoying the time with the boys and he's done so great. And I'll sit back and watch how he parents and listen to him from another room. Like literally right now I have a box of gun shells in front of our door because the door doesn't latch all the way because he hasn't fixed that part and all the kids keep trying to come in the door. So like he's just having him and having that space to just let the kids go over to grandma's and they have stuff going on with their health and I don't want to give them stuff if I've got stuff because I'm seeing people that might have it, might not, who knows who they've been around. So for me, I'm looking forward to having grandma back.
Yes. Praise the Lord. Yes.
Grandma's back. Right.
Yes. I don't know how people do it without family, Lynn. I don't. I mean, I'm learning that now, but I'm just like, I cannot with this.
Exactly. So that's going to be probably number one is seeing people that love seeing my kids. And here you go. Just have them for a little bit.
I love seeing them for an entire weekend, please. How about I'll drop them off Friday morning. I'll be back Monday morning. Please enjoy. Thank you. Exactly. And goodbye. A good friend of mine said we're going to the beach when this is over. We're just going to get a house for a weekend. And we're just going to go sit on the beach without kids. Because there are good things happening right now. And I know you're experiencing the same thing. There are so many sweet moments that are happening that I don't want to miss. But it's okay to say I'm tired.
It's like a seesaw. It's like one day you're down here, one day you're up here. And it's like extreme to extreme. There's not a whole lot of middle ground. And you just kind of have to
And here's the thing. All of our kids are going to be damaged the same way on the other side of this because we're all just trying to make it. So everyone's going to be, like you said, on a level playing field. All right. We're doing great, people. We're doing great.
Moral of the story, hang in there. We're all going to make it.
Yes, we are. We're going to get on the other side of this. We're probably going to be more thankful. We're going to have a lot more gratitude in our lives. And listen, we're going to get to go to Target again, friends. We are. We're going to get to. It's coming soon.
Yes, girl. Well, tell us where we can find you on social media and your podcast.
So you can follow NOTM podcast on Instagram, or you can follow me on Instagram at CE Holla. That's where I had to split them up because there are some parts of life that just aren't meant for the podcast.
I hear you.
So you can find us there, or you can go jump on over to the website, which is noonetoldmepodcast.com. And we'd love to have you over there.
Awesome, girl. Thank you so much.
Hey, Lynn, you're doing great. This is so great. You're doing such a good job. It's hard. I feel you, sister, but you are doing what is needed. And I'm so grateful for that.
We need to meet up again very soon. Not necessarily on the podcast.
I'll drive across those mountains. You drive across them one way or another. We're going to get on the other side.
There you go, girl. All right. Well, you take care and we'll be in touch.
You too. Thanks so much, Lynn.
All right. Bye. Well, we had so much fun talking, I forgot to pray for the girl. So let's pray together for Callie and her family and for all the mamas listening. Dear God, thank you so much for this time with my sister. I thank you for her heart. I thank you for what she embodies as a Christ follower and leader of women and leader in her church, leader in her home. Lord, I thank you for the purpose that she takes seriously, that she tries to live into every day. I thank you for a heart that's after yours and a lifestyle that bends and flexes where it needs to, understanding that we don't have this all figured out, that we're just trusting you day by day, that we're just doing the best we can and knowing that you've got it all in control and you'll give us the godly perspective we need to keep things going and to not lose our minds. And I thank you for that. And I just pray, God, for her and her husband, for what they're going through, things that they have in store for them in this remainder of this year, the favor that you want to bless upon them, Lord. I pray that right now, your favor and your wisdom in their lives, and give them direction for things they seek you for. Lord, I pray for the mamas listening to this podcast, that they would seek you as well, that you'd bestow on them your favor, that you'd keep their families safe, keep their homes healthy, keep their bodies fueled up and their minds charged with things that are positive, that promotes peace and independence and love. And I hear my children home right now, so I just pray, God, that you bless this time we have as well. And I lift all this up to you and thank you for the truth. Thank you for Jesus, and thank you for your sacrifice you made for us. We love you, God, and lift it up to you in Jesus' name. Amen. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Good News Mama. If you did, please leave me a review on iTunes. A 5-star review is best, and hit subscribe. Share with your friends on Instagram and Facebook. Please email me at lynn@goodnewsmama.com. You know I love questions. I love feedback. I want to know what you want to know. We're going to talk about what means something to you. So let's hear it. Follow me on Instagram at Good News Mamas. That's mamas with an S. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Keep your head up, keep your heart humble, and share that good news.